Something went on here, something went on there. And
this time on TnT.
Go Canada Gold. Canada rocks the mic like a bandit at the World Juniors.
We have the Bod of the Week.
And we play a new game about the TnT movie. Who would play each of us? And more importantly, what Canadianity songs would make the soundtrack? That's all coming up right now on TnT.
Well, hello there, Jonathan.
Jeremy Taggart, we're on iTunes, bud.
We're not only on iTunes, we debuted on the #1 at the comedy. How about that?
You know what? I'm trying to manage my own expectations because I'm legitimately excited about this. But I'm also telling myself that the only reason we're at #1 is because maybe a few folks are downloading all 23 episodes, and that's why it seems like there's a lot of traction. But by gum, if I wouldn't love it if there was traction.
I know. It's all wonderful in the TnT world. We're available more than before.
Accommodating.
It makes me think up like one of those, those guys, it's those really good rural guys that like are just really kind and nice, but they swear a lot.
Yeah.
Like this, like that. Oh, the fucking shit. It's fucking shit. It's just fucking great.
My friend John Belbeck grew up in a small town, and there was a farmer in his neighborhood who was always kind of an ominous guy and could never see the bright side of anything. And you'd say, like, nice day out. And he'd say, yeah, too nice.
Oh, really?
He'd hit you with a too nice.
Like that? It's too nice.
Yeah, it's too nice. Something bad's going to happen.
He's like the Lennon to the world's McCartney.
Yep. Or you got your tractor fixed, Harold? Yeah, but one trip up and down the field, and that thing could be bitched.
It's getting better all the time.
How much do you like bitched as a word?
What's that?
How much do you like bitched as a word for something messed up?
Bitch.
What's wrong, Harold? Tractor's bitched, bot. She's bitched.
Hey, the reaction to Right On the last podcast, I believe.
People dig it.
Your issues. People love the concept of the Right On, and some people even said that they were right on as well, and it's an actual thing. It's not just happening to you.
If you haven't listened and you're starting at the end and working your way backwards now that we're on fancy iTunes, by the way, props to our friend Sean Woodley who got us on the iTunes. We're not technical folks. He was able to crack that nut in about a nanosecond.
He really did.
So I was explaining a few scenarios in which I had exchanges with people who were giving me traditionally bad news. And when I said, that's not great what you're saying, I was met with right on. And there's kind of no way to come back from that.
Yeah,
so I'm glad to hear that it's not just me and there are other folks encountering the weirdly boomerangy right on.
So we spent some time at TSN over the holidays. How about that? That was the best time of the sports year for me. I've done a little bit of broadcast work at TSN, but to actually have you there filling in for Mako and Kaz was quite an experience, and it was we got a lot of nice feedback. But I think it was more than anything enjoyable and very uniquely entertaining, and I learned a lot in those 2 days.
I learned a lot, and I was glad that you were there. You're like a PFD for me, bud. Just to look over and know that you're there and you have my back makes it manageable. But I will confess, the first morning, we did 2 days, and the 9 to 9:30 a.m. block is straight. No commercials or anything.
Yeah.
So with the producer who was working on it, John Horn, we came up with a list of like, here are some of the topics. Canada had played at the World Juniors the night before. There were some surprising NFL turns of events. And he said, just kind of introduce who you are, talk about the holidays, spend a little time getting into here's kind of what's coming up later in the show. So we did that, and I stole a glance at the clock, and it was 9:06.
Yeah.
And we'd kind of run the gamut of, all right, so here's kind of where we're at and who we are and what's happening. There was part of me that was like, what the clam? What are we going to talk about for 24 more minutes before we can at least take a break to figure out what we're going to talk about?
I remember looking actually through the glass at I think it was like 9:12, going like, okay, for sure, we got to wrap up here soon. No,
18 minutes, bud.
We still have another 18 minutes to go. And then, the first time I didn't notice that, it's 25 after generally, but I kept thinking that everything that I said, I better keep it short, which was a terrible thing to think.
Right.
For 20 minutes.
But it gives you a whole new appreciation for those. I mean, we cobble these podcasts together. It's about an hour long. It takes us about an hour to do it from conception to execution. It makes you realize that these guys doing 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's a lot of content.
It's crazy. It gives you people like Brian Hayes, who does his own show for 2 hours, and he'll just talk by himself for 25 minutes about sports that you just heard about and trying to make it interesting, and he does it in a great way. That's people like that I definitely respect, because there's one way of like stretching things out and making stuff sound longer, but you also have to be entertaining and thoughtful and have people feel like you're saying things that they would like to think, that they would like to engage you with. So it's props to the people that are good at it. Props to Jeff McDonald for giving us a chance to go in there.
He's a good dude.
And, great. It's a great spot. There's so many amazing people that work there.
Really nice folks, yeah, and they were really accommodating and happy to have us, and it was really a fun experience. But it does give you even more respect for the guys that do it on a daily basis, because imagine doing it in that market where we were lucky enough that there was a lot going on, but imagine some slow days when the only thing you can ask is, how about them Leafs, and you have 3 hours. Speaking of how about them Leafs, Carlisle got fired. How do you feel about that?
The axe finally fell. It's kind of been a long time coming. He's Mr. Two-Way Game, and they have been having a problem playing that way for years. And the defense issues, the shots against, like that was kind of one of the things they've been saying for a year and a half that they had to cut down and figure out. And they're still in the same exact position, so it makes sense that they have to make a change. But this is still the classic Toronto Maple Leafs Band-Aid to me, because there's still... by taking away Carlisle, they kind of exposed the real issues with the team, especially by having Ron Wilson. He came on Leafs Lunch yesterday, and they were really kind of grilling him about the locker room and what the feeling is in that locker room, and he kind of divulged a lot of information in terms of Kessel and how he's a 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off guy, apparently. And
uncoachable.
Even if he's playing well, you're really not... that into it, because you realize he's going to be sour tomorrow, and when he is sour, apparently the whole room has to suffer. So, I mean, that's not a good thing to have, and that's not something that you would want to build a team around. It's something that you would definitely want to add to an existing good core, but it's pretty evident now that without the coach, all those things will be kind of hopefully addressed and at least become more transparent.
Well, the gist of it was, by all accounts, Carlisle would have been fired last summer had there been a candidate in the wings that they could have actually locked up for a few years. But they didn't want to have a temporary transitional kind of coach, knowing that that would be a short-term solution. So that's the only reason he was even back.
Good times. Good times, JT.
Hey, did you watch the World Junior Gold Medal game, bud? Along with the other 7 million Canadians that did?
I was just jumping up and down with everybody else in the bar that I was at. I was with Tim Oxford, our wonderful engineer, and drummer from the Arkells. We were watching the World Juniors at a bar in Liberty Village, and it was spectacular. I just the fact that it became a game, Russia came back.
Well, that was the thing.
It wasn't just
it was almost anticlimactic a few minutes in when Canada was up and away. It was like, oh, it's not going to be much of a game. Part of me was disappointed.
Yeah, but again, it was that classic thing where that Duclair line with Domi, scoring first, and then I guess it was Nick Paul making it 2-0, but then Uden kind of brought it back to 2-1. So it kind of had the first period felt like a hockey game, but yeah, like you said, the second period it kind of blew wide open, but not for long, because the Russian team, where it seemed like they were weak, they would just kind of come back in a ridiculous manner. So it was a perfect game to watch. It was a perfect game to experience with everybody. But could you imagine like the ACC like that if it was actually the Leafs playing like that? Like that would have. I would like to think that MLSE got a taste of what the crowd was like in there, and how times 1,000 if it was the Leafs.
And why is it like, you hate to make cultural leaps, but not since Rocky and Drago has there been two rivalries, like two teams in a rivalry. They are kind of the bad guys. After their first goal, the guy who scored it skating by the bench and like taunting the Canadian players, and one of the Russians threw his stick in the crowd, and they were chippy and choppy, and they're kind of easy to want to beat. Yeah, I don't say that often. You know, the kids from Denmark who did great and made it to the quarterfinals for the first time. Canada and the Canadian fans were so generous and gracious with them. Godla, the goalie from Slovakia, who was amazing. Everybody in the ACC gave him a lot of attention and appreciation. So it's not that we can't cheer for other teams. I think everybody gets the sportsmanship aspect of it. But the Russians, there's just something about them.
Well, I mean, it's Putin, for one. And I'm sure he and the idea of that system is being, you know, all from the pyramid down the way down is just to get in the face of the other team. And they are who they are. I mean, as much as these kids are young kids fighting for their survival at their art and sport and doing the best that they can, they're still in a country that is just kind of backwards in its ideals and what they're trying to do. So that's what's going on. I mean, it's been like that since the 70s. That's why it's so exciting to watch.
And really exciting when we won. You know, we talk a lot about Canadianity on this show and try to distill it down to an essence. I'm going to tell you something, and it sounds a little Hallmark greeting cardy, but for me, the essence of Canadianity is Curtis Lazar smiling on the ice. He loves the intensity of the game. He's having a blast. He's in a pressure cooker, but still seems somehow able to savor that moment. Having fun playing hockey at that level, that's Canadianity, bud.
Oh, it is for sure. And I think it's pretty... I'd have a nice smile on my face if I was Lazar too, with those fancy passes McDavid was giving him.
Yeah, sick.
For the entire week. I mean, it was just a wonderful thing. We got to give all the props to Reinhart and I guess just that whole team. There's not really any... What's amazing about it, and what you think of looking back, is just the depth of the team. Remember, it was all about Patan, you know, the day before. So there's these guys coming out. Fucali obviously did exactly what we thought he was going to do, coming back and just being a strong goaltender. The fact that it was a 5-4 game, just awesome stuff. Just
awesome all around. And as an Oilers fan, seeing Darnell Nurse thrive in that environment was interesting because I made a point publicly that he was ready to go to the show. And after seeing his performance in the World Juniors, and folks kind of were divided. Half thought, yeah, he sure is. And the other half were saying, do you really want to take a young player up into that toxic environment when it's too soon, when you've seen the negative effect that can have on some young guys when you bring them up before they're ready? And that point is not lost on me. It's a really good one. I'm just excited as all. It's good to see someone like that. He's a silver lining on a dark gray cloud.
Which brings me to a segment that we're going to do this week. The bod of the week.
Bod of the week. It's a new thing we're going to do on the show. And
bod of the week.
I think we should cast a wide net, and the bod of the week can be someone we know, someone we don't, someone who's just done a great thing in the spirit of Canadianity. And I have a bod of the week.
So do I.
Do you want to go first?
I would like to go first.
Okay. Then I will.
My bod of the week is not necessarily one bod, but it would be bods. The Canadian team. I got to give them the bods of the week. So
They are the bods of the week. Well done, bods.
From Hickett's to Fabry to Fucali to Point to McDavid, they're all just bods. Coaches, staff, bods.
I'm going to tell you something. The tradition of the game and the spirit with which it's played, it just gives you shivers and chills. Watching, I can't remember who it was, but the first thing they did was skate the trophy over to Fabry, who was on crutches.
Yeah.
Like, we did this for you, bod.
Yeah.
Or even though you didn't play tonight, you were still part of this. There is a code of ethics and a gentlemanly camaraderie in the game, and I can't get enough of that.
So good. Who's your bod of the week?
Okay, so I decided just after Christmas that I was going to auction off. I have a Sunnyvale flat back baseball hat. It was the cast and crew gift for Trailer Park Boys season 9, which will be on Netflix in the next month or so.
Nice.
I met a group in Halifax called the Halifax Music Co-op, and what they're doing is they are collecting musical instruments because everybody has them. Old ones, like Herman played the trumpet. It's under the bed. You can have it. They're starting a musical instrument lending library for kids to come take out an instrument, learn to play it, bring it back, things like that. Kids that would not have access to music. Now, my feeling is if a kid in this day and age has an interest in playing music or pursuing a hobby, it seems like in our first world country, not having access to an instrument shouldn't be the thing that blocks them from doing that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I decided to auction off the snapback hat, and folks were right away driving the bid up, which was great. I think it was at, $200 for a hat because people were really digging this idea. So I said at $250, I would throw in a prop gold record from J-Rock's trailer in Trailer Park Boys. We had to, I think it was in the second movie, we had to suggest that he'd achieved a lot of success. So there were prop gold records around, and this was for the single Can't Not Be Feeling This, which is a double negative. So I said, if we get to 250, I'll throw in the gold record. So it gets to 250, it gets to 300. Here comes the bot of the week. Get a message on Twitter from this guy named Darth Regis, goes by the handle J-Rock on Twitter as well. He lives in Calgary, but he's from Nova Scotia. He says, tell you what, I really believe in this cause. I think it's great what you're doing. I'll match whatever you get up to $500.
Wow.
So I write him back and say, sorry, just to be clear, the bid's at 300. Like if you bid 301, it's yours. He said, I don't want the stuff. I just like the idea of kids being able to play music. So let me know what the winning person bid. I'll donate the same, and away we go. So Darth Regis is my bot of the week.
That is a solid bot.
So $300 is what the winner paid. Nick Koopman from Ontario, Canada. Darth Regis matched it for $3. I threw in $3, so we raised $900 for Halifax Co-op.
Beautiful.
I really dig this idea, and I know you as a musician would too. If you're listening, artscancircle.ca. We'll talk about it another time, but my friend Mike Stevens is the best harmonica player in the world, and he does this in communities up north, like way up north, and it's just working gangbusters because kids take pride in music, and they form bands, and they tell their stories, and if a kid has a guitar in their hand, it means they don't have other things that could hurt them worse in their hand, and nothing bad could come of that, eh, bud?
No, it's great. I mean, and let me know if I can ever help in the future. Obviously, if not when I'm ever in town, or if I can do something to bid up something on my own.
Thanks, bud.
Be happy to help.
It's just one of those great ideas. Like, it's true. Everyone has. Yeah, Charlene played the flute for 2 months in junior high. It's been sitting in the garage ever since, and that could mean a lot to folks. So Halifax Music Co-op is one outlet. artscancircle.ca is another outlet. If you have an old instrument, bot, donate it to the people because it sure would mean a lot.
Well, that's a beautiful little segment there. We need to take a little break here. We're going to come back with not just more information on Canadianity, but we're going to be talking about a TnT film.
I know. I'm really excited about this. It marries all of the things we love about the Canada. We'll take a break on TnT. We'll be right back. After these, it's not words. It's probably an ironic sound clip, right?
It'll either be a beautiful sound clip or perhaps a sound effect or a beat.
We'll take a break and be right back on TNT right after this sound effect. We've spared no expense.
Would you like some egg and beans? Fuck off! You're not my mom! And we're back.
On iTunes. Does this mean we're not on SoundCloud anymore?
It means we're on everything. SoundCloud, and I believe we're going to be getting on the Stitcher. That's another one that a lot of the Android users out there like to use. There's all kinds of platforms. It's just we're trying to keep up with the platforms. We want to get TNT everywhere it's possible.
And are we coming out on Blu-ray, or that's a myth?
Yeah. No, we're going to do Laserdisc, the big ones.
I think if...
You remember those?
I do. I sure do.
I remember seeing that movie Fritz the Cat on Laserdisc when I was about 5.
We were so far behind technology. I mean, I feel bad for those people that bought Betamax machines. How many thousands of dollars were they? Yeah,
but if you actually look at them, they were so much better than VHS to the point where TV stations still used beta for years after.
It's true.
It was the rewind and fast forward. You could still see everything perfect. Same thing with Laserdiscs. Laserdiscs were actually DVDs, the same concept, but it just didn't catch on because it was too expensive. Crazy.
Let me ask you something.
What?
What do I do if you borrowed my phone and went through my iTunes? I would be devastated.
Yeah, you would.
Not because you borrowed my phone without asking. That's bad enough. But because iTunes for me is kind of where one-hit wonders go to die. iTunes is the... what was that song again by those people that I can't barely remember? It's like not
OMC.
Yeah. It's not an accurate litmus sampling of my musical taste. What do I do with the 400 and some CDs on my library shelf? You can't even sell them anymore. I haven't listened to them in 5 years. Are they garbage?
Well, I mean, not really, because they're way wider format than what MP3s that you're listening to. So if you...
What does that mean to the layperson? More sound detail?
It's just you're basically an MP3 is a squished down version of a song.
Right.
And that squished down version of that MP3 was mastered, and specifically, affected by one song. I think it was Luca by Suzanne Vega.
Yeah.
It was, or that other one that she had.
My name is Luca.
On the corner.
I live on the second floor.
But I think it was the poppier one that she had. But apparently that song was that one. That's the original they mastered an MP3 to that song, and that was it. That's the settings for everything since. So the MP3 is not only is it squished, but it's mastered to something that has nothing to do with what you're hearing. So the CD is actually exactly what the artist wanted to put out in terms of sound quality. If you listened to an MP3 as opposed to the actual MP4 or whatever the heck it's called, the full format, it would sound better. You would hear a difference. It wouldn't be I can't tell.
To you or to me?
To you. I'm saying anybody would notice it's bigger. It's like HD compared to normal television.
Right.
It's way more depth. It's not like, vinyl to CD. It's it's an obvious difference because it's just an inherent squish that's happening to the MP3. So it's a big deal.
So I should keep CDs, them just for archival.
No, buy a Bose or something and just play CDs. That's what I do. I still have CDs, and just because I know there's certain ones that I can't find on online or whatever, and I just prefer to have the full sound anyway. It's just get a little setup somewhere and play them.
How do you listen to your Parachute Club albums?
I don't have a Parachute Club album, but if I did, I would listen to it on the Bose right here in my living room.
What should I do? Not to brag, but I have every episode of Jonovision on VHS.
And who wouldn't?
No late fees, bud.
I think I do too, actually. I'm pretty sure.
What should I do with those?
Well, can you put them on something? Like put them all on DVD?
I can't.
You bring them down to the store. The guy that transfers stuff, and you spend like $2,000, and then he does it for you.
Oh, is it worth it?
Well, I mean, it's...
This digital dark age that we're in, right? The technology is going to change. People aren't getting pictures printed. And so they take a lot of pictures, but nobody's making hard copies. You soon won't be able to get these pictures printed anymore because the technology will be so different. And then we'll be in a digital dark age. Then what do we do?
Well, I mean, when... It's not if, but when Jonovision comes back and it's back on like the original episodes, no different than, a Sally Jesse Raphael at the time.
Or Deanie Petty.
You will have the archives, the only footage. So you got to keep those tapes.
I mean, it looks like a lifetime ago. Not only was it actually, but just
I know.
The technology is so different. You must feel that watching... your early appearances on Much Music and stuff.
Yeah, like it's to me, I think the accuracy of what life in prison in Canada is kind of what life is. Like, was it 20 years or something? 23 years? Like that to me, after 23 years, it feels like I don't know that person anymore. Like that's so far ago that I just can't put a connection to being me other than like it being a memory.
Right.
So like, I'll meet someone that's like, we hung out for like a summer and I'm like, I don't know who you are because that was, 1986.
Well, especially if you were you're in an altered state of any kind.
Well, not even that. Just history and just like when you're doing so many things in life, your memory can only hold so much. And especially this day and age when your brain is kind of downtrodden by social media and how easy it is to access things and know things, your own brain, it's probably difficult to compete with. So 20 years just literally feels like somebody else, like it as much as I can understand what I went through in my perspective and feel what I felt, it's really hard to try and think that like, to know exactly what happened or to truly understand certain things about the past. It's really weird.
So we were talking when I was in Toronto about Off the Record. And I would say, if I can speak objectively about myself, I'm pretty well liked. I've crossed paths with a bunch of folks. I don't think folks have a bad taste in their mouth about their time spent with me. Professionally, I have a pretty good reputation. But apparently, I was hard to get along with on Off the Record 20 years ago, and nobody's ever forgotten this, and it makes me feel sick.
I know that, and I could tell when I told you that, and I shouldn't have told you that.
Oh, no, you absolutely should have, but is there a statute of limitations on jerky behavior from 20 years ago?
It wasn't even that you were hard to get along. You just didn't say anything. That was the thing. There was no like you were a dick or anything.
Right.
You just didn't. You had nothing to say when you're generally the complete opposite. So they were like, well, what's a bad guest on Off the Record? Somebody who doesn't say anything.
Who doesn't talk, like Jonathan Torrens. That guy doesn't talk.
They're like that, so that you became this historic figure because you're so outward generally.
That's so terrible, though. What an awful rap.
You kill it, and yet like Michael Landsberg and Matthew Cause and Bob Makowitz, who both previously worked as producers on Off the Record, are like, that's historically the worst guest ever.
Oh my gosh. And it's a terrible cross to bear, and I had no idea.
I know.
By the way, if you ask Mike Bullard, he would tell you that I was one of his favorite guests ever.
Well, hey, you know what? I was a bad guest on OTR once too.
Were you?
Back when in the 90s. Yeah, I did. I was on it in like 98 or something with an Expos coach, Ken Burns, and somebody else, and I just kind of sat there and I'm like, that's Ken Burns the whole time, because I had been watching the baseball documentary that he just made, and I was a huge fan of him, so I was just kind of hanging out, and I wasn't great, so clearly I didn't really come back for 20 years, so it makes sense.
Was it 20 years?
Something like that. I don't know, 98, I think that something like that. I can't even count that high.
I think I've always felt that as important as it is to know what you're good at, it's important to know what you're not good at. So the only vague recollection I have of Off the Record is saying to the publicist at the time, I'm not an analyst. I can't out analyze sports people on sports. I don't know what I would contribute there. That was coupled with a producer who's there, and I don't know if it was Mako or Cause. I don't think, but whoever it was saying, go for the
Probably
joke.
Bob Makowitz.
You're here to bring a different point of view. Go for the joke. You don't have to be a sports guy. Just be yourself. So maybe it was the chocolate and peanut butter of those two sentiments creating discomfort in my stomach. But it's funny, eh? It's so classic that you could have, sometimes when you work in the arts, you could have 50 people say, hey man, I love that song, or that drum solo was amazing, or this line you improv made me laugh. But there's one person who's like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. And that's the one you take home with you.
Yeah, but that's one of those things. Like, that should be an example of drop that hat, because generally to do that is to waste one's time.
It's true.
Concern yourself with the person who could care least.
It's true. And the person who could care most, which is me, I'm fine with. I'm okay looking myself in the mirror, but it is like a tiny little mosquito in my ear going, well, why'd you have to be like that? And I need to just let that go. Because
totally, for sure.
I do like Michael Landsberg. I do think he's a good broadcaster. I can't imagine, again, volume-wise, how much work must go into how many days a week and how many guests and trying to keep it new and fresh and exciting. And that's really hard.
No, absolutely.
Fortunately, I don't have to worry about it.
Yes. You will be on Off the Record again.
Maybe this is the year that we break the curse, and I'm going to over loud pensate. Like, no one's going to get a word in edgewise. I just know myself. That's what'll happen. They won't shut me up, but let's take a break, and we're going to play a game that allows us to create the movie soundtrack for what would be the Taggart and Torrens movie. I feel like it's a road movie, even though it doesn't exist yet. But we'll get into casting, and we'll get into what songs should be playing in what scenes. After this break, you're listening to TNT on iTunes and SoundCloud, in your car, in your ears. Maybe you're on a plane. Crazy.
Ooh, we'll be right back.
Let me ask you this right quick, you know what I mean?
And we're back.
Welcome back to Taggart and Torrens. So we thought it would be fun to consider, not that it's happening yet, but if there was ever to be a Taggart and Torrens movie, God forbid, God willing, who would play us in the movie? So we asked people on the internet, and there were some great suggestions and interesting pairings, both obvious and really outside the box.
Oh, so outside of the box.
Mark Paul Gosselaar from Saved by the Bell as me, and Dustin Diamond as you. That's from Luke Graff. Good suggestion.
Nice. That's pretty greasy. That makes me feel sick. But
I know.
Sure.
Not even like Mario Lopez as you. He went straight screech.
I know, that's terrible.
Daniel Vanderkaden, Ellen DeGeneres as me, and Antonio Banderas as you.
Yeah, see, that's more favorable.
It's not wrong.
No, it's not.
Chris Thorne said Marshall Mathers as me and Jared Leto as you.
Oh, that's enough. There you go.
Hey, said the Whales drummer should be a lock for Taggart, says Brown to Beret.
Yeah, Spencer,
I looked him up. It is kind of uncanny.
It is, especially like my earlier 90s phase. And he has like a longer hair phase, which melds with my later 90s phase. So yeah, and we're good buddies too, so that's what even takes it up a notch.
It does. So he could spend time with you, getting to know you. Yes. Christian and Edge wrestlers. It's from Gordon Ponza.
That's a good one.
It is a good one. It's like, that's thinking outside the box. And then there was one that just slayed both of us. Ryan McDonnell, might be McDonnell, but suggested Go West from the movie Pretty Woman. The song is King of Wishful Thinking, and here's just a taste of it. I'm sure you know it. It sounds like this.
Oh,
Man. King of wishful thinking that those guys would play us. Here, there are a lot of things to talk about in the video. First of all, you might remember the rolled up t-shirts and rolled up jeans with a thin leather braided belt. That's what my guy's wearing.
Yeah, I got it going on here too. The fact that they kind of come out of the limo and the guy pulls the
and
mic
the old
out
school
and
square like funeral limo.
Yes. And they both start jamming and the Colbert looking guy moves and he has a ponytail, not unlike mine a little bit, but he has like Vinnie Caliuta glasses.
You can also tell that it's early on in the existence of the zoom lens.
Yes.
Because there are lots of panicky zooms in and out. But maybe the most telling thing about this being from the dawn of music video is they haven't married the idea of a music video to a movie. So there are no clips from the movie, nor are there any stars from Pretty Woman in the video for King of Wishful Thinking. But there is a woman who sort of, if you squint, bears a passing resemblance to Julia Roberts' hooker character in Pretty Woman. She kind of steps in and out of this 1 second. She's wearing the outfit and she's wearing the high boots, but it's not Julia Roberts. It's weird.
It's called Low Budget 1987 or whatever it is.
But it's so good.
It is a cheesy number. If you have a chance, you got to go on the YouTube and check it out because it's
by the who could forget the duet Go West?
Go West.
I did.
I don't even think they had another song.
Oh my gosh.
Classic one-hit wonder.
The guy who played Jonah in Danger Bay and Mike from Hangin' In. That's heavy Canadianity. Mike had really curly hair, and it was actually Jonah Crabbe, the actor, who played... Or no, it was Christopher Crabbe who played Jonah on Danger Bay, along with Ocean Hellman. Someone said Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. No Canadianity there. Bert and Ralph from the Raccoons.
Nice.
Jack Nicholson and Johnny Depp.
There's a good one.
All my favorite Canadians getting together for a movie, throwing a cameo from John Tavares, and I'm in. That's from Bill Strong.
Nice.
There's some great suggestions. It's really funny.
How about yours and my suggestions for who would play us?
Did you go with who should play you?
Yes.
Okay, who should play you?
I would pick Bill Hader to play me because I would watch it then. Wouldn't that be fun?
It's a great choice.
Isn't that a good one?
It's a great choice. For you, I wanted to keep Canadianity. I wanted to make it plausible. And I wanted to come up with somebody that is like inspires and oh yeah. So Ross Hull from the show Student Bodies on YTV.
I don't even know. I'm going to have to look that up. How do you spell that?
Ross, R-O-S-S. The show is called Student Bodies.
Is it Hall or Hull?
Hull, like Brett.
Oh, perfect. I got that.
Are you looking at him?
I am looking it up, and I got Hull,
He's a good-looking
Quebec.
dude.
He's that bad.
I think he went to...
He's that unknown that I went to Hull, Quebec instead.
Well, someone else said it should be unknowns, because that's the spirit of Canadianity.
So this is for me?
Yeah.
The guy when he was younger with the glasses?
Yeah.
Now I recognize him.
Yeah. Oh, you know that guy.
Yeah, I do know that guy. Nice one.
And I'm going to say for me, almost like they had to do with the twins on Full House. I think it should be the twins from the band Bros.
Oh, Bros.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was like the two Larry Mullins band.
The Larry Mully. Their first single, I Owe You Nothing, was from 1987 and peaked at number 80 on the UK singles chart. So anybody from the band Bros, or to keep it Canadian, any one of the brothers from B44. I think they were cousins, actually, if memory serves.
I was like, mine was more American.
Yeah.
So I picked the guy. You know, I guess he could be your nemesis because he kind of does your job in America. The talk soup guy that looks a lot like you.
Joel McHale.
Yes.
I auditioned for that show.
You know what? You could actually like just be there one day when he wasn't there, and it would probably be the same show.
Well, that's nice of you to say. Mikhail's very funny. But I think I know the moment. The audition went really well. And I think I know the moment I lost it. Justin Timberlake had just been injured in Thailand because he fell off a table in a nightclub. And I did the old misdirect. And he hurt himself in an undisclosed place. And I made the leap between that and... sorry, it happened in Bangkok. And it was silent.
No.
Yeah, it was bad.
But...
I had a bunch of those, though. I auditioned for, You Might Be a Redneck.
Oh, you might be... Fox.
Jeff Foxworthy, yeah. They were doing a sketch show, and I auditioned for those guys, and they said they wanted a Southern character. So I figured everybody was going in and be doing that. So I tried a character who was an albino African-American, because I thought that was really funny. And it was just met with carpet staring, and they were gasping at how shocking I would be.
Really?
Okay, so Bud, we have our suggestions for the cast. What's the movie about? It feels like it has to be a road movie, right?
Yes, we have to get something, and it's gonna take going across the country.
Our friend Fred from Corner Gas reached out and said he could use the work, which is really funny because Corner Gas movie just came out and did gangbusters. Yes. So I suggested he could maybe be the fist-shaking manager of ours who's like, "You guys get back here!"
Classic.
We need some women in the movie. So maybe just to shake it up a bit, maybe the villain is a woman.
Yeah.
What Canadian actor could play a female villain in our movie?
Ellen Page.
Sure.
You could call her up and she could be the villain.
She's a tiny villain.
Yeah.
We have a tiny villain. So let's say we start in St. John's. We're going to Tofino.
Yes.
And we need songs like she stole a briefcase of Aeroplan points or something. This
is how it somehow has to tie together. Like we're in the East Coast and we have to get something from like the Beachcombers set, which happens to be in Tofino.
Right. Hidden in Robert Clothier's shack.
Yes. And we go from Bubbles' shack just to tie it in the reasoning.
Shed to shed.
Yeah.
The shed's hitting the fans. The TnT movie. And there's a briefcase of like Canadian Tire money in Relic Shack. So, do you want to start? What songs did you pick for the soundtrack? Hit me with one.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess we could start with the initial drive, I would think. The feeling of we've got this covered and, we're about to embark on this thing and we have to get there. There's some excitement. There's some concern.
Yeah.
There are going to be some issues.
Sure.
Perhaps there's someone on our tail that we know we don't want them to be doing that.
Uh-oh.
So we're on our way, but we're trying to just realize that this is a nice, understandably beautiful day, and we're about to embark on a nice trip across the country. So we're going to put on some Lighthouse. Some sunny days.
Great.
It's a great track.
That's
From
a great
1972. Canadian super pop group. They had a great horn section. Skip Prokop on the drums. So we would be just sitting driving and, contemplating our morning and trying to get things together. But also enjoying the Canadian view on the East Coast.
That's a great song.
I do believe it would be summer.
Similar, I believe it's summer too. And for some reason, I'd like to see Jay and Dan as bobbies, like English cops, Keystone cops, chasing us for no reason.
Oh, Keystone Cops.
Yep. That's a great tune. I kind of had the same spirit for my kicking off song. I think this comes early in the movie, maybe even before we know we have to hit the road. You know how we have to find our lovable heroes kind of minding their own business, living their lives?
Yes.
Maybe if we were out getting banged up at the bar and we didn't even know that we were about to embark on this adventure, you might hear something like this to suggest what kind of characters we are. You ready?
I'm ready.
East Coast theme and all. This is from the montage in the bar where we're ordering trays of shooters for everybody there.
I love it.
And getting thrown out of skate country.
How come I don't know this song?
You don't know Bad Boys by Haywire?
No, I don't.
Only the soundtrack to my youth.
That's so East Coast. I love that.
You must have known about Haywire.
Well, I know about them. Yeah, I think I know some of the members, but Paul
McCausland, one of the great voices in Canadian pop.
Good time. See, but that's like an East Coast. That's what's wonderful about Canadian music. You did have bands that were bigger in certain areas of the country.
True.
Because they were from there and they would give back to their communities.
Okay, so let's advance the movie along. What's your next song? What province does it take place in on our road caper?
I would say the next place would be Quebec.
Yeah.
And we're having an issue with some police officers. We got pulled over.
Uh-oh.
And it comes to that moment where you feel, what are we going to do here?
Yeah.
Are we going to play the game with these guys, or are we just going to let them slide? Or are we going to try and maybe bribe them? Are we going to lay it on the line, Jonathan?
Ah.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about triumph. We're talking about laying it on the line.
Has to be on a soundtrack.
Yeah, we would be in a concerning moment with police officers. I think turns out was a big OLP fan, and I happen to have a CD.
Phew, that was close.
Yes,
you navigated our way out of a ticket.
That's right. We laid it on the line. Turns out he's a big fan of OLP.
Sick. Police officers call that a tin flash. If you're a cop and you get pulled over and you flash your tin, that's frowned upon.
Yeah, no, not a good move. But we laid it on the line in Quebec.
Yeah, we did. Except the boyfriend of the waitress in this diner that we stopped at for breakfast was not as understanding as the cop. So when we have to get up from the table and make a run for it, why, it's Jack Soul.
Oh, nice.
It up, running down an alley, being chased by the boyfriend.
Oh, my God.
And the waitress is running too because we dined and dashed because her big, burly biker boyfriend was going to smash us in the face. That's a great hook and a great song. By,
that is
a good dude
one.
Gone too soon, Hayden Neal.
Absolutely, for sure. I loved Hayden. He was a great guy.
Great cat and great song. But our soundtrack is killing so far.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're speaking of establishments. We're we've entered Manitoba.
We have?
We're having breakfast at Denny's in Brandon.
Yep. Again.
Or perhaps the Flying J or the Husky. Whatever works.
Nice.
Depending on who we can get to sponsor the film. Maybe this happens in a Tim Hortons.
And what's the jam?
Either way, we're tired. We've been driving far too long. And the wonderful woman, she's probably in her, mid-50s, and she sees that we've had a hard day. And you know what she does?
No.
She gives us coffee on the house. She gives us some toast.
She didn't have to do that, but she did.
No, she didn't have to do it. She tells us some stories. She makes a few jokes. You know who she is?
A sweet city woman, that's who she is.
She's a sweet city woman. So we're going to jam some Stampeders while we're hanging out at this wonderful...
I would watch this movie. I don't even know what it's about, but I'm in.
This, she's got a few tales that are maybe, you wouldn't want to hear normally, but we're rough. We're doing rough. So she's telling us some tales out of church to keep us laughing.
Just like an old
this
Dodge.
woman. I would like to think that this woman could be played by Mike Smith. You know how he plays an older woman.
He sure does.
He really does it. He kills it. I would think that if Mike Smith were playing this elderly waitress,
love it.
That would be our Sweet City Woman.
That's a great
jam.
song. I mean, is it almost
Stampeders
worth
were
making
such an
the
underrated
soundtrack?
band.
It's almost worth making the soundtrack. Like, movie aside, let's just make the soundtrack.
For sure.
So the Sweet City Woman's daughter and her friends invite us to come out with them that night because they're going to smuggle us out of town because Ellen Page is chasing us, right?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So they come on a little too strong is the thing. They see us as their ticket out of town, and they come on a little strong at the club when this song's playing.
Oh my God. Alanis.
That was Alanis after You Can't Do That on Television and before she did that thing with Uncle Joey from whatever that was.
Yeah, the hockey players.
Yeah.
Hey, when you mentioned this thing, was this like all of a sudden we're at this bar hanging out and the daughters of the waitress start like creeping us out and doing the cheesy grinding dancing?
Yeah.
That's what I'm picturing right there.
Yeah, that's what happens. And they come on a little strong. So maybe you want to stay and I want to get the heck out of there. So we get into a bit of a fight. Can I jump in with another one?
Yeah.
We get into a bit of a fight and the next morning we're driving in silence, almost like when Vince Vaughn and that guy go to Vegas and they meet the girls and all he can talk about is his ex-girlfriend. Yeah. So the next day we're driving across Alberta in silence and this song is on the radio.
No way. And you don't turn it off?
No.
You know how much I hate it, but I'm like letting you have it because I feel I was in the wrong.
And after about 5 minutes, I say, I just don't understand. Like, we have to be in Tofino by tomorrow night. It just, of course I would have liked to stay, but nothing I do is ever enough for you, Jeremy. This is our big fight before we solidify a relationship.
I can go on about how it's like we're supposed to live a little bit. This is life. What are we gonna do? The rest of our lives just trying to follow leads?
I know it's life, Jeremy, but guess what? Life has some tasks and goals and deadlines in it. And if we always just treaded water like you, we'd never get anywhere.
I need to breathe. That's it. I just want to breathe a bit.
So is what you're suggesting that it's our differences that make us the same?
I think it's our differences that are making us differenter.
What do I do?
Calling?
My home phone's ringing.
Somebody's calling.
Do you think it's
that would be
future?
the same thing? A cell phone interrupting our fight in the car to fix everything.
How about Corey Hart? It Ain't Enough on the soundtrack.
I know, but like, who would be calling to like interrupt the scene to make everything okay?
Well, it's probably Fred, our manager.
That's right.
Calling to say, you no good ne'er-do-wells, we're supposed to be back on the East Coast.
And then he tells us everything's going to be fine because he has plane tickets waiting in Calgary, so we don't have to go there.
Wicked.
So we run. Who do we run into that brings us to their farmhouse and forces us to drink moonshine?
Brent Sutter.
Yeah, there we go.
That's a good cameo.
So then we have to play this little number. It comes on when things are really rolling towards the end of the evening. When Mr. Sutter starts to get a little darker and the stories.
Wait, where are you fellas going?
Yeah. Come on downstairs. I'll show you something. He puts on some Neil Young, and we really start picking it up with Tonight's the Night. In Sutter's basement.
And he wants to jam it out.
He's got a full kit set up, and I sit on the kit, and he wants to play it, but you can't play Tonight's the Night without being banged up. So he's like, we're doing this, and you're drinking.
So good.
Best coach ever.
Best coach ever. And we're exchanging glances like, how do we get out of here? It's Brent Sutter, dude. And he's like, no, you guys aren't getting out of here with this snow tonight. You might as well bunk down in the barn.
Yep. You're Bruce Berry tonight, Jonathan. Hey? Just passes the jug to you.
Take a pull on that and tell me it ain't Christmas. Suck that down with your pink mouth and relax. You're not getting anywhere in this storm.
Okay, let's take a break. That was great.
Hey, I'm gonna take us out with the trailer. You ready?
Okay, here we go.
You Kill Tonight's the Night. And this is the preview for our movie that comes on ahead of Trailer Park Boys 4D. You hear this track kick in. From the makers of Men with Brooms comes a motion picture so powerful, critics are calling it not too bad. Right on, it's the Taggart and Torrens movie. And if Venice is sinking, Spirit of the West.
Unbelievable.
That's good
perfect.
kooky music.
Yeah.
We're going from coast to coast. We need, what's the quintessential Canadian car?
What did they drive in going down the road? Remember
Yeah,
that
it has
movie?
to be one of those.
Yeah, it's got to be that. Like
Like a Dodge Dart.
Yeah, Dart.
Jeremy Taggart, Jonathan Torrens, a Dodge Dart, and only 36 hours to get to Tofino. Taggart and Torrens the movie, right on, coming soon. Let's take a break, bud, and come back to wrap her up.
All right.
Hold your bird, bud. We're back.
How you doing, Jonathan?
I'm so into the idea of a TnT movie. It's almost like my daughters love Let It Go from Frozen. They love the dresses. They love the characters and the books. They don't even really like the movie. If we put the movie on, they'll watch it for 5 minutes. I kind of feel the same way about the TnT movie. I'm so into the soundtrack. Like, I don't care if the movie ever gets made, but the soundtrack and the Who Would Play Us is really cracking me up.
Absolutely.
Chad Ibbotson, Jim Carrey from Burt Wonderstone as Taggart, and a young Robert Redford as Torrens. I'll take that any day of the week.
That's funny.
Jerry D as me, and Fabio as you. Jerry D was on a plane a couple of weeks ago. He was telling me, and the guy beside him said, "Hey, I know who you are. Jonathan Torrens." And Jerry was like,
Wow.
"Yep."
Isn't that weird when that happens? Like, you get people that are like, oh, I recognize that person, but that's not the same person.
Not the same person at all.
Somebody's thought I was Rivers from Weezer, way back in the day.
Because of the glasses?
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'm Rivers.
It must be because you carry yourself a certain way. I mean, I've told this story before, but I was buying gum in Saskatoon, and the woman working in the store at the airport said, "I know who you are. Can I ask you one question?" "Sure, anything." "What's it like to be on Coronation Street?" Wow.
And you don't even have an accent.
Well, that was the thing.
Wow.
No, I don't.
That is crazy. Who do you look like on that show?
There's a very effeminate gentleman who has blonde hair. But if you're talking blonde folks over 20, it's a pretty small pool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got your Stefan Brogrenses from Degrassi, the guy who used to play Shane on Degrassi, Billy Parrott.
Yep.
There you
Just
go.
like how and then you were Shane?
And then that woman from The Listener, she has short blonde hair. There you go.
I love it.
You know who I'd like to play my dad? Is Russell DeCarl from Prairie Oyster.
That is where did that come from?
Well, I've crossed paths with him on these Peter Zosky Invitational Golf Tournaments. He's a great actor and a great singer. And if I ever did an ABC after school special, like Where's My Dad? He'd be my dad.
My dad. I wonder who. Well, Rex Murphy could play my dad.
Oh my gosh. Well, now it's almost worth doing the Taggart and Torrens movie just to have those guys play the dad. I think what we're saying is it's like a Mike and Mike's Excellent Adventure, but fictitious, in which people play us.
Yeah.
It's a Canadian caper.
It's very Canadian to not have to play ourselves. That's the best
So
part.
Canadian.
It's like, no, we get someone else to do that.
Yeah.
Let's
give somebody else a shot, bud.
Exactly.
Quit hogging the spotlight, bud. Hey, Jeremy, fun to have our first official iTunes potty in the books, bud.
Absolutely, and it's been a pleasure to talk this week, and I can't wait to talk to you next week, Jonathan.
And folks listening, you can get at us at Taggart and Torrens or taggartandtorrens@gmail.com. Maybe you have a suggestion for a bot of the week, or maybe someone you know celebrating a birthday and you want to get them a little shout out on the Taggart and Torrens podcast. Either way, hit us on the hip, as the kids say. I have my pager on me 24/7.
That was assault. You know what? There's nobody better at the BUMs, the bumps. You are the bumper master.
What does that mean? Like the throwing to break and stuff?
Yeah, you're the break thrower.
It's
Hey, you know what's the other? When Carlisle got fired, I got a couple tweets of people saying they wish they'd had a fire watch with Carlisle.
I know. I saw that. Hey, bud, let me ask you something before we go.
What?
How was it working with other folks? Because you sat in with some other folks for a few days.
It was fun. I had a great time with Mike Hogan, and I did a day with Matt Cause, and I appreciated all of it. Great.
Matt
folks.
Cause is a
really
good dude.
So good. Everybody's so kind.
And Matt Co's a good dude, yeah.
Just a wonderful, wonderful group of people over there.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes when you go into different environments, like people have their backup about who are the new people or what do they want from us or is anybody trying to usurp us. These guys are so gracious and generous and kind. And I love that.
Absolutely. Love it. TSN all day.
TSN all day. TSN FTW. TSN for the win. Just before we go, speaking of the World Juniors, quick shouts to Gord Miller, Ray Ferraro, James Duthie, Bob McKenzie, and the technical crew. From a broadcasting standpoint, the coverage, the excitement, and the marathon was really impressive to watch. The highest rated specialty cable show of all time in Canadian history. That's Canadianity. 7 million folks.
It's hate to say it, but nobody covers hockey better than TSN.
Brap, brap. I'm out like I stole something. Slip. Peace.
All up.